Central banks around the world have reduced interest rates by 0.5%. What will be the effect of this policy, if anything, and will it end the credit crunch?
Yes, today it's also been announced that the central banks, including the Bank of England, will cut the base lending rate, which decides the various other interest rates, by 0.5%, and that is of course quite a dramatic cut. And the question is, what will it do? Will it actually unblock the seizure that has taken place in the credit system? I think the first thing that it will do is actually boost the profits of the banks, because it will lower the cost of their borrowing in order to extend loans to other people if they get back into lending money, which is what the aim of the exercise is. But the banks in the recent period, even though interest rates have come down a little bit and they've been given extra liquidity by the central banks, that they've actually put their interest rates up. So even though the base rate has gone down, home buyers are paying more for their mortgages. There's higher interest charges on credit card and consumer credit, and that is, in my opinion, not likely to change because they put the base rate down. More important in the effect it will have on the wholesale credit market, that is the lending between the banks, which is the key to a greater supply of credit into the economy generally, is the guarantee that the Bank of England is now offering to banks, so that when they lend money to other banks, they are assured that even if those banks go bust, then the government will step in and make up the loss. And in the US, the Federal Reserve has really incredibly given lending facilities to non-bank businesses, to a number of large corporations. And so you have the absurd position, or the very unusual position, where the Federal Reserve is acting like a high street bank, where the banks are acting like a reserve that will only lend to the central bank, where of course they know their money is safe. And that is an indication of the great depths of the crisis and the seizing up of the credit system due to the highly speculative activity of the last 10 years or so, and the fact that the various exotic securities that they were using to trade have rebounded on them and caused a complete fouling up of the system. Whether the 0.5% cut and these other measures proposed by the Bank of England and the Federal Reserve will actually succeed is not certain. We can only say we can wait and see. In the next few days we may get some indication of whether it's put some kind of floor under the downward spiral of the banking system. But even if it manages to do that, it's not going to produce a revival of the economy. On the contrary, recession has already begun in Britain, where it will be quite a sharp recession, in Europe, in the US, and it's likely to be prolonged and affect every part of the world economy. And there's really no way that can be halted now, even if the collapse of the banks is halted at this stage.
I suppose the question that is on everyone's minds is, but what can we do? What can working class people do about what is happening now?
The effects of the economic downswing on working people will be extremely severe. There's going to be a massive rise in unemployment. Wage levels will be forced down by the bosses. There will be huge cuts in government services, which means that things like education and health will be undermined, but also there will be a loss of jobs in those services. And we have to be prepared to fight against that. The system is in crisis, not because of the actions of working people, but because of the reckless, predatory profit making of the bosses, and particularly of the banks. And we have to be prepared to use the strength of trade unions and organisation in order to fight against those effects on workers and put forward an alternative. Now, it's been said that the takeover of Northern Rock is nationalisation. The package proposed by Darling now is partial nationalisation, but it's not socialism by any means. It's the state taking over these banks and possibly some industries in the future in order to try to save the capitalist system overall because of the collapse of these important sectors. And it's done in the interests of preserving capitalism, not in the interests of the working class. We would say that even this nationalisation shows that you can manage very well without private owners and capitalists. It also points towards a more progressive and advanced way of running the economy. And we would say the banks should be nationalised, not just one or two or partially nationalised, but they should be taken over. They should be run according to a democratic plan to meet the needs of society rather than the profits of a small parasitic minority. And they should be, for instance, used to provide cheap mortgages so people can afford to buy houses, for affordable loans to small businesses so they can survive, and to generally provide funds for social priorities and not simply for the profits of a minority.